Have you guessed where I am? No, you haven't guessed. Look, I'm not in New York City, I'm in Colmar City. Colmar, whose cradle city is it? Bartholdi's. Bartholdi, who is not an Italian-American, but an Italian Alsatian. And Alsace is the land of wines, Colmar being its capital town, and I'm taking you for a tour around it. A crazy, crazy tour. At the foot of the Vosges Mountains, you can discover the Alsatian Vineyards. For about 170 kilometers, you keep crossing roads with villages huddled round their church towers like mothers keeping their children close to them, with blue, white or other colored facades. But did you know that not so very long ago, the white ones belonged to Protestants and the blue ones to Catholics? Blue, of course, is the color of the Blessed Virgin. Well, all along the road, you find these little cellars, Wiegstoep, because that's how they call them. In fact, I've been told about a man at Bar called Wilhelm. I'll take you there at once. It's 11:15 by the clock of Bar's little church right behind us, and I'm with Philippe Durst. Durst in Alsatian means thirst. Not a thirsty man, it just means thirst. And he's quite rightly chosen his business. Commercial manager of this lovely domain. Suits him down to the ground. Philippe, what I do love about these Alsatian vineyards is that everything's shipshape, everything's in its proper place with those small vines shaped as arbors. You almost feel as if it were a theatre decor, wouldn't you say? And they plant them almost to the top of the slope, I think.
It's done on purpose. That's what we call pruning en double gluot. It's typical in Alsace. You see, these are canes. Here you have a double cane,
yes,
cut rather short, controlling the vine's strength and thus getting grapes. Less grapes, but with a higher degree of juice.
What type of vine is this?
This is a Gewürztraminer, the third most important type of vine in Alsace after the Riesling, which is called the king of Alsatian wines, and the white Pinot that we use both to make soft white wines and the Crémant d'Alsace too. On the other side, Gewürztraminer is called the emperor of Alsatian wines. It's the wine that
Al Capone used to drink when he was in jail at Sing Sing. I've read about it. I forget which book it was in, but I've read it.
I wouldn't be surprised, because Monsieur Willem was canvassing the USA at the time as soon as Prohibition was over. One can imagine that the Klugensbrunnen Gewürztraminer from here was probably being savoured there.
Yeah, but let's not say it's a hoodlum's wine. Certainly not. When I drink it, I find it amazing. I was thinking that Alsatians are not loafers, though maybe a little, because they plant it high enough not to have to bend down. But when I turn around and see all that up there, I'd say you need good lungs, let me tell you. If I ever became an Alsatian harvester, I'd be harvesting all those rows, but harvesting this way, not that way, see what I mean?
They are mountaineers of the extreme in a way. They each get a harness, are given 200 meters of rope, and they come down step by step, letting it go. At every step, they harvest the grapes in a small bucket, and when it's full, they hand it on to the middle row of men. There we have a sledge with small crates, and by mid-morning, the harvest will have made about one length.
Best not to have 20 hectares, it might take a whole year.
We've got 4, that's good enough.
That's what I meant.
It takes 1 week.
Didn't we say we'd be having a drink?
A drink will be welcome.
Because with all this hot weather, I was told that it was cold in Alsace, but I find it's very hot.
Nice cool drink.
Nice and cool. And we could have a few tidbits with it, huh? This is indeed a traditional setting. All this wainscoting, I've never seen anything like it.
This is our wine library. It really is a work of art. It's a 100-year-old cellar, and here we keep the great vintage wines of our firm. So you'll find here, for instance, 59s, 71s.
Still drinkable?
It's quite amazing. It kept here at a constant temperature, they'll keep all right.
It's cool here.
Indeed. Mustn't be too dry either.
So, what should we start with now?
I suggest we start with a grand vintage Riesling, a Kirche Berg de Bar, a very mineral wine, and then follow on with a grey Pinot, issued from the same hillside and having the same vintage year. And then, let's keep for the end the celebrated Klugensbrunnen. You know that in Alsace we usually harvest in October. In this case, 2003, we started picking up our first grapes on August the 21st.
Amazing.
Unheard of before.
I hope it'll be an extraordinary wine, because Right, he's right.
Of course, with the Riesling, we have lemony notes.
Oh, it's fabulous, it is.
There's an after flavour of...
A hint of grapefruit, don't you
It's
think?
almost somehow exotic, this 2003 True. Welcome to it, and to your health.
Let's not waste time.
This is a gastronomic wine. Not to be drunk as an aperitif. It's not a wine
Very good indeed.
for watching a game of football on TV either. It's a very serious one.
Won't you share a piece of Kugloff with me?
Don't mind if I do.
Here, I'll give you the smaller piece.
Alsatian wines naturally have a nice acidity.
Nice, these Kugloff cakes.
And true enough, preservation requires a bit of everything. It requires alcohol and strength, but above all, it requires a good acid base to keep the freshness in the wine.
So it might keep for a good 10 years?
No doubt about it.
Well, all this has given me an appetite, so now what shall I do? Right, let me tell you, I'll keep on with my little tour of the wine road so as to meet a young and brilliant chef, but I'll say no more.
This is sorrel, wild sorrel. Well, Bruno, how delightful.
Yes, you see, I've been watching you for some time.
Is that so?
And collecting your herbs, because you know I keep an eye on everything. They told me you might be here, so what's all
The
that?
cook looks everywhere.
Yes, that's true, you're
The
quite
cook
right.
has a very inquisitive nature. I'm curious by nature. So I've been picking up some herbs, meadow sage, which is beginning to flower now, and here, see another herb? You must smell it.
Let me see.
Shut your eyes and you'll smell. It smells just like a truffle.
Like a truffle, indeed.
You have to grate the roots.
There's a hint of aniseed at the root's tip,
A
right?
scent of aniseed, yes, which is the root of the primrose. So you grate it nicely and have it brew, and I use it particularly with fried liver. See?
Well, now let's go to your hostelry.
Yeah.
Let's have a little glass of muscatel.
The best pre-meal drink, a wine to quench thirst.
Let's go, because I'm thirsty, very thirsty.
Now, this is mountain love celery or lovage. We also call it more usually mailly. We use a lot of mailla in soups here in Alsace.
Pity you can't smell it, because it really smells very good.
It does smell very good, and that's why I'll take a twig and dip it into water.
Here, I'll add one of my own.
Yeah, salted boiling water with just some cooking salt. We add cooking salt, a good dose of it, and just a hint of sugar, a small spoonful of sugar. If we ever have rather bitter asparaguses, it lessens the bitter taste of the asparagus.
And what do you do with this?
These are vine shoots, and I use them as just for the show. I mean, to decorate the
For the show. Here's an honest man, just for the show.
So then we choose our asparaguses. I prefer the thin ones. So here we have.
So do I.
We have the purple ones. Here we have asparaguses in blossom, and here with green tips. And I've bunched up some purple ones like this.
Fine.
I've bunched them up, peeled them, bunched them up, and I'll immerse them in the water and let them simmer for 5 full minutes. In fact, I'll only be using the tips to make a velouté with them, so with what's best in them. Well, we can add some more on the plate. Now, I'm keeping an eye on their cooking. I'll jab them with the tip of a knife. They have to remain a little firm, though properly cooked. So now I lay my asparaguses rather as just any way we like. And now I'll use my vine shoots, on which I'll lay my various herbs, which we picked up together. There's the dead nettle, the burnet, and I'll end up with a flower that's the meadow bitter cress,
How romantic.
which is a flower, well, meadow bitter cress is as if you presented a girl with a bouquet. It's noticed at once.
Yes, right. Very romantic, like I said.
And then I sprinkle it with very finely cut shallots. This finely cut shallot at the end gives it a crunchy taste. And at the same time, some vineyard chives. There.
Chives are a good idea.
Chives are rather magical, so I'll be adding some chives. And now I'll get my French dressing ready. I'll start with some of the asparagus cooking water,
Yes,
some wine vinegar,
that's the best.
just a drop of wine vinegar, and some olive oil.
From Provence, don't forget.
Now, what's interesting is adding some flour of salt.
A twist of pepper?
2 twists of peppermill. I mix it with my spoon and pour it on the asparaguses.
Very light.
And at the last moment,
He adds flowers.
some flour of salt at the last minute, all over it, another twist of pepper, and go ahead.
Finally.
We'll savor it.
I've got to eat some of that too.
With this marinade of asparaguses, I've thought, of course, of an Alsatian wine, see?
Of course.
Why not a muscatel? An Alsatian muscatel, made out of the fruit that's the crunchy part of the grape. And so it's a vintage that goes well with asparaguses because of its fruit.
To ours. And to yours too, if you wish, right? Go ahead, after you. Hubert, you start it.
Ah, me, I love it. There's still some flour of salt and chives on it.
Oh, that's the tasty part of it. There. Well, to your health, dear friends. If I tell you the city of Colmar is a work of art, well, that's no news to you. You just have to look behind me at that lovely 15th century dwelling, with its little overhang called an oriel, which allowed its owners at the time to save on land taxes. It was, of course, exempted from those taxes, as you can well imagine. Not very romantic, but highly interesting from a financial point of view. The other clients will be jealous. In the year of grace 1480, Colmar's inhabitants came here, just behind me, to the Coifus house, nowadays called the Customs House, to settle up their taxes. Imagine yourselves doing the same if you had lived during the same period. Aha! Now to serious matters.
Like this. Anything else?
I told you, Jackie's the best man for Münster cheese. Everybody's here wanting to buy cheese, so they gave me this basket and told me, hang on, your turn's coming soon. Once I've been through all this, I'm leaving, see? I've had a few. It really is good. Want some? Alsace is a land of wine, of gastronomy, but also a land of art and culture. It's here in this Unterlinden Museum, which used to shelter a Dominican convent, that visitors from all over the world come to admire a particular work of art, the Isenheim Reredos.
Some fresh web lettuce?
Yes, a really fresh one.
Well, that one will do, a fine one.
Yes, it's a bit... All right,
They
fine.
were cut this morning, they're fresh.
Will you put it all in my car?
Right.
Tell me, Hubert, art's fine, culture isn't bad, but earthly nourishment's even better.
Oh, yeah.
In any case, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, listen, I'm taking you to a meadow and we'll run after a small rooster.
Oh, no, not we. You'll run. I've been running all day.
Then I'll run after a rooster weighing about 6 to 8 pounds. It's been running for 7 months, so let's catch it. It's fed on grain only, and we'll take it to my kitchen.
Well, if it's been running for 7 months, we're not about to catch up with it. It's had some training.
Come on, come on.
One of them's taking off.
Weighed more than 6 pounds the one you had yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't it a fine piece? Bruno, just feel its weight.
Look, this is a rooster, a real rooster. What a sad ending you'll have, poor old boy.
Bravo.
Yeah, last evening I caught a real Alsatian one.
Once upon a time, an Alsatian rooster was crowing. Well, we could have started that way, but you see, the story and its career end up here on dear Hubert's stove.
Let me trim it first, right? I'll cut the pinions with which I'll be preparing a little stock, right? And to improve on this rooster, I'll fill it with a stuffing. We just have potatoes, Mitloff potatoes and Rosenval potatoes that we've cooked in their jackets. And we'll mix them, finely diced up. And then what we use a lot in Alsace is onions. Finely chopped onions browned in butter. Well done, so as to let them lose their water and let it evaporate. And then bread croutons to make the whole stuffing lighter. 2 whole eggs to thicken, to bind the whole thing. And now we'll stuff the rooster. Though keeping the gizzard, the heart, and the liver, which we'll put through the vegetable mill.
There.
And once it's been through the vegetable mill, I'll mix the whole thing
With the stuffing.
into the stuffing. I'll mix the whole lot and then add plenty of thyme. And if you haven't
got any fresh thyme, you can use dry.
yes, some dried thyme, the best being some flower of thyme, see? I add some salt, some pepper. In Alsatian, we say Nachttischesteib. It means dust from the bedside table. And then the final operation is stuffing it. Here, can you hold it for me?
Of course, I was going to suggest that.
I salt the whole inside
With cooking salt?
with cooking salt. Then I generously stuff it.
You need a partner to hold it, don't forget.
Yeah.
We cut the head off,
Cut the head off.
straight out.
We break up the neck into small pieces. And in our stock, there's the whole quintessence, so as to prepare our cooking juice. So I already put this in the casserole to brown the whole thing. We sew it up with a trussing needle and some string. I'll salt and pepper it. It'll then go into the casserole, bumped off as the French say, and then put it into the oven at 160 degrees, first for some 20 minutes, and then I'll turn it over. After 90 minutes cooking, I stop it, take it out, let it rest, cover it, and what's been caramelized, the giblets, the neck pieces, pinions, I deglaze with water. I have it candied.
Well, I'm rushing back to the table because I won't have anybody sitting in my place. I'll see you there, Hubert.
All right, I'm on my way. I'll hurry. And here's the rooster. Antoine will be having a leg.
Hey, young man, you going to eat all that? Will you share it with me? Come on, Isabel, share with me. Wipe you. All I can say is that Alsace is the land of every possible single bliss.
Cool.
I'm surrounded by a lovely mum, beautiful children, a charming dad, wonderful friends. I'll try and see if they'll adopt me. I'm afraid I'm a bit fat, but never mind. It won't be a great expense to them. I'll be careful about it, see?
Yes.
Though this rooster's certainly knocked about the world, it's as mellow as butter. I'm in a hurry, but this time it's because I'm meeting two lovely ladies too. Hello, how are you?
Welcome to the Weinbach estate, monsieur. May I introduce my daughter is in charge of winemaking, Laurence?
How'd you do?
Fine, how are you? We're delighted to receive you and show you our wines.
I'm touched to find myself facing two lovely smiling faces. If your wines are as good as your smiles are pretty, it'll be bliss. So let's not waste any more time. Show me the way, ladies.
Come.
Colette, tell me about your Weinbach domain venture with your daughters Laurence and Cathy.
It's been a lovely venture. It already was when I met my husband, who lived here in this, who owned this estate, which was called the Vineyard of the Capuchins, a former monastery of the Capuchin order. We were attracted to each other, married, and he had a passion for, of course, he loved the mansion, its vineyard, and he passed on to me his passion. I knew nothing about wine, but he taught me everything. You see, I loved this man and loved his wines. Now Laurence is in charge of our winemaking. She studied enology and makes the most amazing wines for us.
Well, Laurence, I'll ask the question to the oenologist. Since I've come to Alsace, I've discovered Riesling, king of wines, Gewürztraminer, the emperor. But what other types of vines are there that would characterize Alsace's vineyards?
We're lucky to have 7 wonderful types of vines. As you know, Alsace is the land of great white wines, so besides these 2 types of vines, our star vintages, we also have the Grey Pinot.
Grey Pinot.
Also called Grey Tokay Pinot. We have the Sylvaner, the White Pinot, the Muscadelle, a wonderful aperitif. And besides those 6 white wines, we have a red one, the Black Pinot. Why all these types of vine? Well, we do have all these types because there is a great geological diversity of soils that allows us to cultivate each of these types of vines to their very best quality. Now I suggest you taste our Riesling Schlossberg 2004.
With pleasure.
Which is an excellent vintage wine. The Schlossberg is a great area within the Riesling Vineyards, and the Riesling is a grand vintage wine. Very subtle, very racy, which blends to perfection with seafood, with fish. It's really the king of wines in Alsace. Taste it.
It has a hint of citrus flavor.
Hear that? That's the wine fermenting.
I hear you.
The gases leaked just now. The fermentation is working.
It's very sweet.
Yes, because in fact it hasn't quite reached its balance, so it still has to keep fermenting and losing some more, well, about 18 grams of residual sugar to become quite dry.
Well, if I may, I think it's time to part, and we should do so on a nice spicier note.
Spicier? Here you are.
What do you say, Colette?
Quite, I agree with you.
And what is this spicy note?
Gewürztraminer.
Let's clink glasses,
It goes
right,
with
Colette?
cheese or foie gras.
It's perfect on its
To
own too.
Laurence and Cathy too, who's not here. Can you imagine? I've been so taken with these wines of Alsace that I'm going to be elected knight in the Brotherhood of Saint-Étienne d'Alsace, in this beautiful castle belonging to the Brotherhood. I'll create a dazzling royal commotion and we'll depart with a glass of Riesling in hand. Terrific, isn't it? I'm rushing off, I'm expected, and I'm late.
Beasts slap, men drink, and only men of distinction taste. You see, as a proper wine grower, I have a cellar to offer you. A gift in which are lined up, as if they were my own brood, countless amounts of bottles. Well, I do love calling on them, talking to them. I even sometimes caress them. As I love feeling the shapely curves of those lovely bottles, you see. And occasionally, it does so happen that I feel one of them start quivering, fluttering. And I say to myself, there, another old flirtatious lady who wishes to wake up for a final time. So to bring it to perfection, see, you get your glass of wine like this closer to a luminous source so as to admire this ballet, this dancing interplay of light that from time to time lets a tiny emerald ray glitter, which we caress with our eyes, so beautiful it is. And then you hold your glass and impart to it a few slight gyratory, swifter and swifter movements so as to increase the emanations of the aromas of those bouquets we are about to inhale. It may also be a matter of tasting it. So how shall we proceed? You simply pout your mouth like this. Pout your mouth, you will say? Well, yes. By pouting thus your mouth, you inhale air. And you have the wine reach the right temperature in your mouth. And you already feel its vigor spreading itself, expanding, bathing the soft palate and the whole mouth with its subtle aromas. Yes, indeed. And then comes a time when one must have to think of swallowing it. Now there it's quite simple. You just let it rush down behind your thigh into that huge abyss. And if the wine is good, you'll hear the angels sing. In the name of Noah, who drank the wine of ancient time, of Bacchus, who gulped down the pagan wine, of our saints Vincent, Urban, and Stephen, we name you fellow member
and Seneschal of the Brotherhood of Saint-Étienne d'Alsace.
Sing it and sing it and la 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 la. Sing it and